One day I'm going to get really good at technology, but it's not going to be today. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us. Sooner Works is a program that is very dear to Mindy and I. We have been working on it for several years, trying to get it to the OU campus. We accepted our first group of students in the fall of 2019, so they are currently sophomores. And then we accepted our second cohort of students in the fall of 2020. So we have a great group of sophomores and freshmen. I would also like to add that I have been blown away by how amazing and supportive the OU campus has been for our students, just in terms of accessibility into everything that they have wanted to do. We have our students are very involved on campus, as you know, we'll happily tell you some stories as we go through the presentation, but it has just been a phenomenal place to get this program going. And then the OU community has just been amazing for us. So what is Sooner Works? Most of you who are chimed in, are probably pretty familiar with it to have joined the webinar, but Sooner Works is a 4-year college program for students who either have a mild intellectual and or developmental disability. Sooner Works is not a degreed program. And so we just want to make really clear that when students finish the Sooner Works program, they do not receive a degree from the University of Oklahoma. What they do receive is a certificate of completion in integrated community studies. So it is a recognized program here at the university, and we have paperwork processing through. So starting next fall and well before any of our students finish the program, it will be a recognized program by the Oklahoma Higher Education Regents, but it is not a degreed program. And so we just want to make really clear that everyone understands that. However, our students look and function and act just like every single other student here at the University of Oklahoma. Our students take regular OU courses. Our students live in OU housing. They join student organizations, go to football games, go to basketball games, join sororities and fraternities. And our students, you know, you would never know that our students were not degree seeking students unless they disclosed that they were in this program. And even at that, most of the other students on campus don't even realize it's not a degree program. They just see it as another program here on campus. Mindy, do you want to add anything?
No, I think you have it covered. Sorry, I have mine on mute right now until it's my turn to talk. We're feeling a bit puny in my house and I have a lot of coughing and stuff going on in the background. So I'm trying to keep all the background noise down a little bit. But I do think it's really important that we focus on this program does look a little bit different since it's not a degree program and they're not degree seeking. So when we'll go over it in a little bit more detail, but their coursework and all of that will look a little bit different.
So a lot of you may already be familiar with this, but there really is a need for programs at the college level for students who have intellectual disabilities. And what the research tells us is that with these college programs, individuals accomplish so much more in life. They are able to live on their own more. They have a much higher rate of paid employment, a much higher rate of community engagement. And this is really the whole of Sooner Works, is to get our students, this population, out as independently as possible for them. And so we realize that on a college campus, there's a lot of things that we are able to do that just aren't feasible in a typical high school classroom setting. We understand that there are amazing high school programs out there. However, when students live on their own for the first time in a dorm setting or university house setting or any kind of independent setting, there is just a huge growth that we see. In fact, Mindy and I were just talking the other day that our first semester freshman is such an amazing experience because we see so much growth in our freshman students. And it's really fun to see them at the beginning when parents hug them and kiss them goodbye for the first time. And then when it's, they're all getting ready to go home for Thanksgiving and the next week, and they're very excited to go home. Now they've gone back and forth and visited, but this growth of independence is just amazing. And parents notice it too. So this is the whole point of what we're doing is to get our students out there as independently as possible and employed in the community. So we really have kind of these two big purposes to what we're doing. The first one is meaningful employment to the maximum extent possible that it is for those students, and then full community integration into the community that they're living in. And so we all know that these can look really different for different people, different students, but this is what we're all working for. Now, we accomplish this through three different things. It's college academics. We are at a university here, and so our students enroll in regular OU coursework and specialized coursework for students in Sooner Works. We also do it through career development, through a very strategic set of internships to develop students' employment skills and all the soft skills they need towards employment. And then we also do it through university life, which is the social community integration aspect, because we know that having friends and being integrated into society is really where we get a lot of our satisfaction from life from. And so these three kind of pieces of the pie really make up the heart of what Sooner Works is and what we're trying to do here. Now, on the next few slides, we will kind of delve into these three different pieces of the pie, talk about them in a little bit, and actually in a lot more detail. And then kind of at the end of the presentation, we'll go through the series of steps if your child is ready to apply this year, what that would look like. So university academics, we are in college and we expect our students to function just like all other students here on the university campus. Our students take 2 to 3 regular OU courses every semester. Now, these are individualized courses. So on the next slide, you'll actually see kind of a sampling of what courses may look like. Schedules look, typical freshman first semester schedules. OU has something called gateway courses, which are gateway into OU academics, OU college life. And gateway classes are specifically designed for freshmen. So some of the topics between gateway are, and one of my favorite ones is 9 things every college student needs to know about money. Oh my gosh, let me tell you, I think this is actually a little advanced because they get into stock market and how the stock market works, which I don't really know how the stock market works very well, but these are college freshman classes. And so our students with Sooner Works are right there with all the other freshmen on campus learning about, money management. One of the other classes that our students have taken as a gateway class is the study of happiness. Maybe I don't remember the official name, the happiness class, or science of happiness. But again, our students are right there taking classes with all the other freshmen on campus. As our students move up into higher level, sophomore classes, junior classes, senior classes, we're really, really looking at what interests students. And so we have a current student who is really interested in health and nutrition and is taking a nutrition class. We have another student who is extremely interested in dance, was very active in dance while she was in high school. And so she is taking a series of coursework related to dance. Her ultimate career goal is to work in a dance studio and teach younger kids how to dance. And so she's taking a lot of specialized dance classes. Other students take health and fitness. Those are pretty common. We have a student who is amazingly music gifted. And so that individual has been taking, is taking intro to voice next semester. And so again, we really try to look at what are students interested in, what are their career goals, and what courses we can match them with to have those skills come together. But again, all students are taking 2 to 3 regular OU courses. Now, we, Mindy and I, other doc students, other graduate students who are involved in the SoonerWorks program, work to make necessary modifications and accommodations on the regular OU courses. So if there is an assignment to write a paper, maybe our students are not writing a 5-page paper, but they are coming up with a bulleted list of points that may be in the paper. Maybe our students can write 1-word answers as opposed to, you know, a full paper. And that's something that Mindy and I work with each student, again, because it's individualized, and then also the instructor of different classes to figure out how can we protect the integrity of the assignment the instructor is given, but also make sure that our students are getting something meaningful out of that assignment and are able to demonstrate knowledge of whatever that topic is. We have a student who really wants to take an economics class in the spring, and so we're working with that student to get into economics. We have another student who is going to take an early childhood class in the spring. She wants to work in a daycare preschool type setting, and so she's taking early childhood classes. And so again, we really look at what are interests of the students and what are their ability levels, and we match classes from there. Students then also take SoonerWorks specific classes. And in this, we do all person-centered planning. So every semester, students take an hour of person-centered planning, which is really, really individualized. That's where we work with them one-on-one on whatever specific skills they need. And then they also have a group course every semester that has topics on employability skills. What are your rights as an adult? We work on transportation skills and how do we get around in the community. Mindy, I know you're teaching one of the courses right now. Do you want to add anything that you're specifically doing right now in your self-determination?
Right now we are doing a personal financial literacy class. So we are working on budgeting, and I really tailor it to the students in the class and what's going on. We realize that while we have this group I'm working with right now, phenomenal understanding of paychecks, how they work, like insurance and all that stuff. They're really grasping the concept, but they're having a hard time with budgeting. Like, let's say you get $100 a month spending money. How are you going to spend that money? What groceries are you going to buy? So like we went through that, and it was funny to see. The first lesson was I just kind of let them get whatever they wanted for the week. And it was amazing, like the ear pods and the luxury items they got, and they only got like three things to eat all week. So like now we're tailoring and really just seeing the specific needs they have. We also are teaching SoonerWorks 101, which is just kind of a general course that we go over self-determination and disability awareness and self-advocacy, so they can understand what their strengths are, how that can really help them in college, and the areas we need to focus on. And then we do person-centered planning, which every student meets with one of the SoonerWorks staff. Right now, it's mainly myself, since we have such a small group, it works out well that way. But and we go over their goals specifically, like what are we working on for short term? What are our long-term goals? And so that's a weekly meeting that's really tailored to each student's needs. And I think that's about what we're covering right now this semester that I can think of, Kendra.
We spend a lot of time too, whether it's in person-centered planning or just the other classes, but you know, Canvas is a platform that the whole university uses to organize classes and homework and PowerPoint and what things. And so we do spend quite a bit of time, especially the first semester. The freshman year is just getting used to those expectations. You have to check your email probably multiple times a day. Email is the number one way your professors are going to communicate. And so if you're not checking your email and your professor says, hey, our class is meeting in the library instead of our normal classroom, you're not going to get that message. And so we spend a lot of time, especially the freshman year, just learning those basic kind of executive functioning type skills of being your own person who's kind of on your own for the first time. And The great thing about the college setting is every single freshman is kind of on their own for the first time. And so many times the skills that we're working on more specifically are the exact same skills that every single other freshman is working on. And so it's kind of fun sometimes when our students in the SoonerWorks program are so much more ahead on some of these skills because we're working with them so intensively on it, and then we see a lot of regular college freshmen who, what do you mean you haven't checked your email this week? Why have you not checked your email this week? And so it's kind of fun. Anyway, so here is just kind of a list of potential classes. These are classes that our students have taken. These are classes of different instructors that have indicated, oh my gosh, I would love to have students in the SoonerWorks program. However, we're constantly, because we have a student who really wants to take economics, we're getting him into economics next semester. So the only thing that I would say are off limits to our students are the upper level classes that they have to have certain prerequisites to get in. However, it doesn't mean we don't start their freshman, sophomore year working on these prerequisites so that when they are juniors and seniors, they have the prerequisites necessary to get into these classes. So for example, our student that I was talking about earlier that is really into dance, she has to take some of the beginning dance classes before she can take some of the intermediate dance classes. And so we're working on those prerequisites to get her into it. But again, the faculty and staff at the university have been absolutely amazing to work with. And even working with some of like meteorology and some of the harder science classes, understanding that, it's not about understanding every single technical issue of meteorology, but our students are in there to learn about weather and patterns or more general things. And really it's been great. And our students, well, of course they're learning stuff and then they come back and tell me and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. But it's really fun. And then they're asking us too, I can't decide next semester if I should take photography or if I should take journalism, and talking through these choices and saying, well, what do you want to do when you finish and which one is more important? And I don't know, it's fun. Mindy just finished doing all the spring advising and they've got a fun set of classes. I will give them credit for that. So
yeah, we're all over the university. I'm really excited about all the new areas we're branching into and trying out new things. And I was very impressed with their grasp on what they wanted to take and then their advocacy skills, their advocacy skills for themselves. Like when we look at a class and I say, okay, do you want to take this? And they're like, is it online this semester? Because I don't want to do an online class. So I was so impressed by that. Because of COVID, we have a lot more online classes than we normally do. And when they were able to tell me that just blew me away. I was so excited.
Yeah, and that is an interesting thing that you brought up, just because we are dealing with COVID right now. All of our students are enrolled in at least one online course, and all of our students are enrolled in face-to-face courses. And so I am cross my fingers hoping that next fall looks a lot more like normal. But our students are still in online and face-to-face courses, and depending on what they want to take, they're in both. And so we make sure that our students are still in face-to-face classes, even though a lot have gone online. So, and I think this is still me, Mindy, I don't remember. We do, I'll keep talking. Starting the second semester of the freshman year, our students do a series of internships. So they finish 7 internships by the time they graduate. We have had a lot of discussion about internships the first semester freshman year, but it's really such an adjustment. Just living on your own, how do you figure out when to do laundry? How do you figure out, you're going to a different cafeteria to eat breakfast and lunch, and how do I navigate all of this stuff? Mindy will talk in a minute about the social requirement that we have for all of our students, but it's a lot that first semester, their freshman year. So we start internships beginning the spring semester of freshman year, and then again, students go through a series of 7 internships. Each semester and each year of the students, they get a little bit more intense in terms of how many hours per week it is. So that by the time students are seniors, they're really working in a 20-hour per week paid internship off campus if it's appropriate for what job that they want. So for example, our student who wants to work in a dance studio, when she finishes, we are going to do everything that we can do to line her up in a 20-hour-a-week paid internship in a dance studio. There is a picture of a young man here who, well, actually, I think he's kind of changed career goals right now. But when he came in, he really wanted to do health and fitness. And so this is an actual picture of him at his spring internship from last year, in which he was going around and testing a lot of the workout equipment to make sure that everything was going well. And he would take the workout equipment through a series of steps to make sure it was functioning appropriate. And so we really try hard to match student interests with what they're doing. Now, it doesn't mean that every single semester you're going to have this perfect alignment, because we also use internships for exploration. So if a student has a really good skill that we think this internship might fit really well with the skill of theirs, we want them to try it. And a lot of times students learn just as much from an internship that they're maybe not passionate about as they do from internships that they are passionate about. But again, we're doing the best that we can to match interest. And as students go through, then of course they get all of these different job experiences. Starting junior year, we work to have internships off campus so that our students are both on and off campus during the day. And as Mindy will talk in a few minutes about housing, this kind of corresponds with other initiatives that we have through SoonerWorks. But the career development is, of course, a huge, huge part of SoonerWorks, and providing internships and providing these focused job skill training, providing the supported or the job supports that our students need to have employment and be employed in the community. But again, our goals for our students is employment after they graduate and employment in the community. So. All right, any questions? Y'all are a quiet group tonight.
Kendra, and something I'd like to add for our parents, the students that are a few years away, or even the students that are on here, is, what we're seeing a lot of success with our students that have some previous work coming in. So if you're looking at some things you can do to help prepare yourself to be in a post-secondary program, I would definitely start looking at getting a job. And even if it's a volunteer job or just getting involved in your community somehow, but getting that experience really has seemed, you can tell the students that are coming into the program that have worked and that haven't, and you can also kind of see in their job placements. And so I feel like it's a true advantage for the kiddos coming in.
Hey, this is Mike. Sorry, I may have missed this earlier, but when you talk about your students, how many students do you have this year in the program, and how many do you plan on having next year?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our first semester, we accepted 3 students. And so we have 3 sophomores right now. Our second year, we accepted 7 students, which we were only hoping to accept 6, but we had 7 fabulous students. So we accepted 7. Our goal next year, because we are still a new program and we don't want to overextend ourselves, is we're looking at accepting roughly 8, give or take 1 or 2 freshmen into the program. And most of that's to make sure that we don't overextend ourselves and grow faster than we can provide supports to our students.
Thank you.
Do you want to add anything, Mindy?
No, you answered it perfect.
All right.
Quick question: Is this just at the Norman location, or is this everywhere? What campus is this provided?
This program is just at the OU Norman campus.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
I don't know if I missed this at the beginning, but do they have a ratio, like when they live in a dormitory, Is it 4 students per room or 2 students per room? How does that work? And do they have?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Actually, we're going to hit on that here in just a second.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, perfect.
All right, I think it's your turn, Mindy.
Yeah. So I'm going to first talk about university life, and then I'm going to get into the dorm situation. So with university life, this is something I feel like we had this plan going in how our socialization was going to look. And I always have to say this quick backstory on it because it just blew me away. We had this young man last year who actually 2 years before we started the program came to us and said, hey, why don't we have a program like this on campus? We really need a program like this. And we're like, we agree, we're working on it. And he said, I want to help however I can. And he actually became our peer partner president and helped organize all the socialization for our students on campus his senior year. He was phenomenal. We couldn't have asked for a better person to be involved with our program. But he really did a lot to set the stage for our peer partners. And I feel like Kendra and I, our backgrounds being teachers, we really wanted to take the lead of all the peer partners and kind of, I don't want to say micromanage, but lead and make sure everything was done to our idea. And this young man, his name was Chris, was very open and said, no, peer partners, let them take the students, let them decide. That's what all the other students on campus are doing. And like, I wanted to go to something with him like that first week. And he was like, no, they go with their friends. The peer partners can take him. So he really, I want to set the tone for how the peer partners are. And we have been pleasantly surprised with our peer partners. I have never worried in that aspect at all about the socialization on campus for our students. I'll say COVID threw a little bit of a wrench in it, but our peer partners have been very creative in trying to find safe alternative ways to make sure all the students are getting socialization. And our peer partners
Halloween costume party this year. And so that was one thing that the peer partners had did last year is there was this big costume party, but this year they just rerouted and did this outside pumpkin. Yeah. But that's just COVID.
Yeah, exactly. It's affected a lot. So, but our peer partners have been really, they're just students on campus, traditionally enrolled students on campus. Usually they're juniors and seniors. We've had a few sophomores and freshmen sign up, but usually it's your older student body who want to be involved with our program. They've heard about it or they've been involved the year before. They go through a training and a vetting process, but they've just kind of embraced our students. They are more friends on campus. We originally called it peer mentors. And that young man I was talking about earlier, Chris, said, we're not mentors, we're friends, we're partners. Like, he really stressed that he didn't want it to be called a mentor program, which I would have never thought about. And so I think this is where we've been the most pleasantly surprised, and our kids have really just stepped up and joined their peer partners. So every student is placed with 4 to 5 peer partners. And this is somebody they meet with weekly. And so whether it's going to the movies, helping them, maybe like if they have to go to the grocery store that week or laundry, I mean, they're out there doing stuff they would do with other traditional students. And then we also, I've been really surprised and enjoyed this year's, our older Sooner Works participants have taken on the roles of being peer partners for our younger students. And so they've taken that role very seriously because they had great role models last year doing it. And so they're always asking them to go do stuff. They're finding stuff on campus to keep students entertained on the weekends, things like that. So this,
I like 3 pictures just yesterday of students out in the community doing stuff. So they're constantly texting Mindy and I, here we are at Starbucks, here we are shopping, here we are this.
Yes.
Like, our students have the most amazing social lives ever, you know, and I have teenage children and they're still like, how come your students in Sooner Works have better social lives than you do? And I'm like, thanks, sweetheart.
They do, and they're college students. So yeah, they have a very traditional college social life in many aspects. And that kind of leads into also part of their socialization is join the campus organizations and activities. And we have students that are we have a student that's in a sorority, another one who's wanting to go through Spring Rush. We have students in our male Christian fraternity. We have a student that's in the presidential leadership class, one that's involved with the conducting. I can't always remember the name of the conducting club, but he loves music and he wanted to be in the conducting club. We have students that are in our student government. We have students that are part of our Camp Crimson, and that's the welcoming week and the organization that helps freshmen get acclimated to campus. Can you think of any of the other activities they're in?
Well, they're in that. I know that a couple of our students are in some kind of gaming club.
Yes.
And I'm not a video game player, but I know that, I mean, they are very into this gaming club. There is a Christian organization on campus called the Wesley. And so we have several individuals who go to a Bible study, and they're very involved in this organization. One of the students that we've mentioned that's very musically inclined is in the praise band for this organization. And so he meets a couple times a week just to practice playing music so that they're ready to play music for the Bible study. But our students are everywhere. And that's such a huge part of it, because that socialization piece and being out there and all of that is part of being a student at the University of Oklahoma. And it's a huge part. And that's our expectations for them, is you have to get involved in at least 2 organizations. You have to stay involved. This is our expectation for you, and they're involved.
And something I'd like to say is, we have these different aspects, and something that really didn't pop up last year, that when we had only 3 students, but we're seeing being more of an issue this year, is that the socialization is a little bit harder for some students, where the academics might be harder for other students. So we're also tailoring that socialization if need be. Like, I have one student this year that's really uncomfortable with socialization. They're doing phenomenal on academics, but socialization is a little bit hard for them. So we are specifically talking with their peer partners. We're reducing the time they're doing peer partners and gradually building it up. And right now their goal is 1 campus organization this semester. Next semester, we're moving it to the 2 campus organizations. We're kind of building that up for the student to make them more comfortable in this situation. And so that's one of the ways we kind of individualize and tailor it for the students, just like we do their academics or their residential, which we'll talk about here in a minute.
So Lydia asked a great question. She asked about the weather and does it storm here? And so, yes, we can have bad weather. One thing that's really nice, Lydia, is the National Weather Center is actually located on the OU campus. And so they're very good at keeping us informed when bad weather comes. There are storm shelters all over campus. And so each one of the housing buildings has its own storm shelter associated with it. And so the campus is really good about keeping people informed of bad weather. Mm-hmm. But there are a few days a year that we get bad weather. So
yeah, and like you said, the campus does a great job. We'll get texts, emails, and then if it's ever really bad, that Norman will have sirens that will go off, so but usually we all know way before the sirens go off, because OU does such a good job informing us.
And they will cancel classes if weather gets to, if dangerous weather is imminent, they'll cancel classes and go take shelter. So I have lived here for 15 years, 14 years, I don't know. And so I've never personally been in a tornado or anything. Mindy's lived here longer, and I think you were eventually in one.
Yeah, I was in one, and everything ended up being okay. Everything worked out. And I think that's one thing about Oklahoma, is we are used to the weather, so we know how to deal with it really well. And then on the university life, we also have peer partners, and peer tutors, and that's someone to help with the academics. And our peer tutors range from student volunteers up to graduate students that are working within the Zero Center, where Kendra and I work, helping students with their work, helping modify, staying in contact with teachers or instructors when needed, coming to me, like if they don't know how to help with a situation or an assignment, they'll come talk to me and we'll tag team it. So the students get a lot of support, not only academically, but they're getting it socially. They're getting it in their
And they're
internships. There are a lot of supports, and I know we keep going back to this, but all of it is really tailored to what that student needs.
Yeah, and so as where some students might need a lot of support socially, as Mindy was saying, you know, we have one student who doesn't like as much social interaction. And so we're just working on, well, what's one thing that we can do? And then building up to the second organization. Others, and that student's actually very, very well, he's one of our higher students academically, but then it flip-flops. We have students who are maybe lower academics and we're working a whole lot on getting assignments turned in, but man, they are involved in too many activities. And social schedules are a lot. So anyway.
There's times we have to pull them back a little bit and say, hey, we need to focus on our academics a little bit more, which I think is a very traditional college thing that some students have to face. And going back to that young man, we're kind of building on his strengths by having him tutor as well. So some of our students within the program are tutoring other students that may have the same class as them or had the class previous. So he's been a huge part of helping our other students in the in one of the classes that's a little bit harder. So it's been really neat to watch him kind of blossom in that, and that's kind of made him be a little bit more comfortable in social situations. Do we have any questions about university life or social situations before we move on to residential life? Okay, now here's the big one. I know everyone's always interested in where the student's going to live. And residential life is a mandatory part of our program. We require all students live on campus. And yet again, it kind of grows with the students as the program grows. Initially, all the students move into the residential halls, which are kind of known as our freshman dorms. And all the students will live in a single dorm, an ADA suite with another student, another Sooner Works student as their suite mate. So they'll share a bathroom and each have their own rooms. This will be for their whole freshman year. They're spread throughout the dorms. They're in inclusive dorms. So usually there won't be any other Sooner Works students on their same hallway. We have 3 different residential halls on campus, and we have students in all of them.
We work a little bit closely, well, we do work closely with the RA, and so our students are really kind of randomly assigned to dorms, and then we work with the residential advisor so that they understand that there is a student in the Sooner Works program, and that is kind of their first go-to if there is a problem in the dorm setting. We've had really good, I don't want to say luck, but things have always gone really well, but no one is living with our students. And so they're out there living independently. No one is making sure they get back to their room at midnight and a lot of those kind of things. And so we really do have a very, very inclusive residential experience because our students are assigned to housing the exact same way that all freshmen are.
Mm-hmm. And I think that they're helping each other. We do dorm checks. We do things like that where we're checking in on them, but they ultimately, that's their independence and they are growing with that. And we actually had a policeman come and talk to our students about residential life and all of that. And we have a very safe campus. All the doors lock at a certain time. Nobody can get into their hallways anytime throughout the day unless they have their key to get in. There's a residence advisor on every floor. So it's set up to be really safe, but there's also that independence where the students are getting up on their own. They're making sure they're going to bed on their own. We've had a few parents, that are concerned, and I get it. I would be concerned for my child as well. I will be concerned for my child as well when he goes to college. And so some of the parents have taken it upon themselves to get I think it's 360 or something, like an app, so they can kind of see where they are. And then we actually had one child that told her parents that that was an invasion of her privacy and she wanted them to take it off. And she didn't talk to him for a few days. And I asked her how it was going, and she said, they're coming around. So, she was self-advocating for herself, but I also understand why her parents did that. So initially, like I said, the students will move into the freshman dorms with every other freshman. Then
Yeah. So there was a question. What are some ways that the program supports students who are going through any kind of crisis? And so the examples that were given were mental health or substance abuse. And so if there is a mental health crisis or a substance abuse crisis, we're going to follow the exact same protocol that OU does. And so that's one thing with SoonerWorks is OU has their protocol. We follow the exact same protocol in terms of substance abuse and that kind of stuff. However, we do provide a lot more support. And so if our students need support in residential life, we're right there to provide it. And so if our students are having trouble getting their laundry done, having trouble getting their assignments or anything like that, there's a lot more supports to provide for them.
And I feel like, to Priscilla, that's a great question. I feel like with our students, we're making so many connections a week. Like I see the students, if not every day, every other day, but there is somebody associated with SoonerWorks seeing the students every day of the week, Monday through Friday. And usually on Saturday and Sunday, there's still those connections, but some of the students go home. But we are always in our office Monday through Friday. And the students.
Oh, go ahead, Mindy. Sorry.
Since we're seeing those connections. And so we're picking up on things pretty fast, and can sit there and talk with them, talk to their families. And we've had a few kids that have had some adjustment issues just coming to college. That's part of being in college, getting homesick, going through a little bit of depression. And so we have been able to address those issues, but nothing has been a crisis yet. It's usually we've been able to handle it, talking with the students and talking with the families.
Yeah, and I would say that was a great job. Yeah, there are students, somebody is checking in with our students multiple times a day during the week, whether it's getting to class, whether it's person-centered planning, whether it's their peer partners, whether it's their student organization. So there's multiple check-ins each day. I'm in my office, Mindy's at home right now, but Mindy's office is right next door to mine. If a student's late, we're calling them, hi, Johnny, you're late to your person-centered planning meeting. Where are you? And so there's a lot of check-ins like that going on. And then, of course, if a student is late, well, what's going on? Tell me about what's going on. And a lot of that process just to what's going on, what can we do to help you? How can we problem solve through this? And the first semester, your freshman year, is hard. I mean, that first time you're kind of on your own and you're expected to wake up in the morning and go get breakfast and get to class. It's a lot. So, all right. So sorry, finish talking about moving up through residential life.
Wait, and then also, so that was what their freshman year looks like. And then we felt it was really important to, since we do have such an inclusive residential life, that the students get to make those choices. So the second year, once they're acclimated to campus and living, in that dorm setting, they have they get to make the choice. Do they want to go potluck the next year? And that means just randomly be put with a roommate. Do they have a specific roommate they want to have on campus that they've already made a connection with? Or do they want to live independently again? Do they want to live by themselves, which is another choice they have? And so they get all the choices of the OU college that every other student does. Their sophomore year, junior year, it's the same way. And then senior year, our plan is for all students who will live on the campus apartments. And usually that's 2 to 4 rooms in the same apartment. And they'll get to make that choice. You can go potluck still in that situation, just be placed with other roommates, or they may choose to live with some of their friends they've made in SoonerWorks, and they may choose to have outside people on campus. I mean, they'll still be from OU because it is still considered OU living. But it may just be friends they've made on campus that they want to live with. And so, go ahead, Kendra, what?
We've had students who have indicated, I'm going to live with, this friend that I met, or I know this person from high school, and this is who I'm going to live with next year. And great.
Yeah.
I mean, we're here to support them in whatever their residential choices are after that freshman year and help facilitating it. So
while we kind of leave the options up to the students in many ways, we're still very strategic in how we've planned this. Their living option phases, because we really feel setting them up by their senior year to live in those campus apartments are kind of setting them up for that. what that independent living experience is going to be like once they get out of college. And so our apartments, they live on campus, on campus. Sorry about that. They're located on the outside of campus, like they're on the very edges of our campus. And so they're going to have to commute to and from for the most part, I think most of the classes, they'll still have to commute, get on the bus, take it. We have free public transportation for all the students. They're going to have to navigate all of that and scheduling and doing all that like they would have to in the real world. So,
yeah. Of course, we're here to help make sure they can navigate all of that.
So do we have any questions?
Y'all are quiet.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so do some of these students, like you said they communicate on the bus to go to classes? Is that the same bus they use? Like, could they go to, I don't know if there's a Walmart in Norman, but could they go other places using the same bus? Is it a public bus?
There is public transportation here in Norman, which is something we work on. So we work on buses. We also work on Ubers. A lot of our students like taking Ubers. That's something that we work on. We also do have, every couple of weeks, we'll have an organized trip that's like, hey, we'll take students to Walmart at this time if something comes up, which in fact, one of our students started, Mindy was at lunch the other week. One of the students came into my office, where's Mindy? And I'm like, I think she's at lunch. And he's like, I have a fraternity event tonight. I have to have flowers, because he was going on some kind of double date thing. And he was like, I have to have flowers now. We're like, okay, time out. Mindy's at lunch, but where's the pre-planning in this? So we do talk a lot about pre-planning. Anyway, he did end up getting his flowers. Mindy said that they were not the ones she would have picked, but it wasn't her flowers to pick. But we do have organized trips. So as you know, if we know it's kind of getting to be that time, groceries are a lot more expensive on campus. So to buy a gallon of milk at the little grocery store on campus is way more expensive than to buy the gallon of milk at Walmart. And so we do have some organized stuff, but yeah, a lot of our students take Uber, or they get a ride with the person across the hall, and kind of organize rides with other people on campus that they meet. Sorry,
Kendra. I'll say first, we were doing a lot more grocery shopping together as a group. And now that they've made those friends and those connections, they're going with their peer partners. They're going with, like Kendra said, someone across the hall. We haven't done a group grocery store visit in probably a month, because they're making those connections, which is what we want, and encourage them. Because I know when I was in college and I lived in the dorms, we would ask each other on the floor, hey, does anyone need to go to the store? You want to go with me? Or if we had some people that didn't have cars, and we'd say, hey, we're heading to the store. Do you need a ride? So they're really participating in that. And that's part of being in college. So we really advocate for them to do that.
Yeah, and that's one of the questions we ask too, is when they reach out and say, I need something, Mindy and I are totally here to help problem solve, but it doesn't mean we're the one who's going to do what they need to do, and so we'll have you ask your peer partner, have you asked this, have you asked this, and kind of help through that problem solving. But it seems to work pretty well. So did someone have a question?
I do, a real quick one, I hope. So how are the meals? Are they cafeteria? Is there one cafeteria on campus? Are there 5? Are they all different, like different stores, like McDonald's or Chick-fil-A that they go to? Do they just scan their card, or do they use a fingerprint, or is it just included? You show up 3 times during these hours. How does the
kind of
meal plan work?
Just described. Students have a meal plan. And meal plans, and there's a few cafeterias. There's the one giant cafeteria, which, by the way, has the only all-you-can-eat Chick-fil-A in the country. So there's the one giant cafeteria, which is you go in, you can eat as much as you can possibly eat 24/7 if you really wanted to. But then there's lots of other places across campus. Students have meal points, or like Sooner dollars, Sooner cents, which are just, it's a debit card. And so there's a little bit of everything you just described.
And there's several places across campus, like depending where you are, like there's, campuses, I feel like a good size. So the union has a lot of options. Then each dorm has a different option. Then right across from our building, there's a place that has 4 or 5 little restaurants in it. And then the cafeteria has a lot. So they're spread out throughout campus, and the students can use, they have a combination of so many meals per week, and then they have and then they have some Sooner points, which kind of works like cash.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And how many students total are there on campus that live on campus?
Well, I don't know how many live on campus. There's
Okay.
I can look it up real quick.
about 22,000 undergraduate students.
Okay.
But
Okay.
of course, all freshmen are required to live on campus.
Oh, fun. Okay.
You know, unless you're like my family and we live a mile away, and I told my kids there's no way I'm paying for them to live on campus. Although they still tell me they don't want to live with me anymore. But yeah, I'm guessing somewhere maybe around 7 to 10,000 students.
Okay, perfect.
23% of our 21,000 live on campus.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
One of the other questions that was asked is if we have resources for students who need help finding their way around campus. And the answer is yes. So especially at the beginning of every semester, we spend a lot of time using peer partners, using, you know, students who work here at the Zero Center with Mindy and I, making sure students know. First of all, we want to make sure students know how to get to the Zero Center, because this is kind of our home base. And literally I point out this window and there's housing right behind me. But then we work on walking, you know, all of our students, we individually walk them to all of their classes. Make sure you know where this is. Make sure you know where this is. There's people to meet students after class to make sure they know where to get back. Now we taper off that level of support as students get familiar. But we spend a lot of time working on where your classes, where are the main buildings that we go to, where's the library, where's the student union, because there's a lot of restaurants in the student union. There was one, well, actually it's happened more than once, you know, but a student gets an email of, okay, class is going to meet at this building today instead of where we normally meet. And we've used FaceTime to get across campus. You know, students call us and we say, okay, show me where you are. And, you know, they hold their phone up and here's this building and here's this building. And we're providing a lot of support as they walk across campus. So there is always, you know, someone available. We have a student who has a visual impairment and she's been able to navigate campus, from my perspective, just fine. I know, you know, of course, right at the beginning, we provided a lot of support as she got used to everything, but it's a big campus, but it's, I don't know, it's not that big.
No, it's, and especially when they're freshmen and sophomores, while they're learning classes, while they're learning campus, a lot of their classes are in the same locations repeatedly, because a lot of the freshman classes are located in the same buildings. So they're very familiar. We do this every semester when they're learning the campus and how it's going. We will take them every single semester. But like for the most part, our sophomores this year are like, oh, I know where that is. I'm fine. But there is a lot of support, and there's support taking them to the cafeteria and learning how to navigate through that line, because that can be a little bit overwhelming. We all go like as a group several times before school even starts, and then we go that first week. And so they're learning all of that as we're going along with support. And I will say we kind of tailor that support, like Kendra said, is we have some students that pick it up after the first class and don't want to be taken again. And then we have some that like we're still working with some of the students on as long as they're comfortable. So right now we may not be taking them, but they're texting us when they get there, or we're walking so far behind them, things like that. And they know where they're going. They're just not quite comfortable with it yet.
And then we have students who would quite happily let us walk them to class every single day, the entire 4 years that they're here. Well, that's not what we're after either. No. You've got to have that level of independence. But, you know, of course, it's easy to say everyone's individual and everything's so individualized, and it is, because each student is really needing a different level of support, and what they're working on is different. Maybe they're not working on as much academics because they're really working on this independence piece, or vice versa. So, okay, let me keep going.
Okay. Okay, and I've had a few questions asked on the chat privately about some of the participant requirements, and this is where we're going to get into that. All the students, you've heard us talk several times, independence is a big component of our program. Like, we help the students and we will provide supports, but they do have to have a basic level of independence coming into the program. They need to have a functional understanding of literacy, writing composition, and reading skills. And even if they can't read, they have to have the skills to be able to have something read to them and them understand, because there are emails coming through from professors saying, hey, class has been canceled today, or they're having to read their assignments, understanding what's going on. I send a lot of texts and emails about, you need to expect this and this is going on, things like that. So they have to have that basic reading comprehension skills, or have the technology to have something read to them and understand it. Basic mathematics, and everyone always says, well, what about budgeting? We understand not everyone's good at budgeting. I think my husband would still debate that maybe I would need a budgeting class as well. So we just want them to be able to understand the concepts of money somewhat, understand math, like understanding that if they have 1,200 Sooner Cents points to use on their meal plan for the semester, we can't go and blow them all the first month. And we talk to them about that stuff, but they need to have some concept of numbers and money like that. The ability to function independently for a sustained period of time. And I think that's our really big one, Kendra. Wouldn't you say, like, just that independence, being able to be in a dorm room by yourself for a sustained period of time, being able to entertain yourself somewhat. There is not something planned 24/7 at college. That's kind of the way college is. There's times you need that downtime to do your work. You need that downtime to kind of collect and plan and do all of that. So they have to be able to function independently by themselves.
And the week can be pretty busy, but especially when they start getting into internships and really involved in student organizations, because, you know, there's stuff to do at multiple points during the day. But, you know, Saturdays, especially Saturdays where there's no football game, there might be, you know, a day where they really don't have anything that's already planned for them. And so what are you going to do in this time where nothing's necessarily planned? Now, usually peer partners or someone steps in, especially on non-game weekends, but over the weekend, there can definitely be time, or maybe there's all there is lunch, you know? And so what are you going to do during that other time? How are you going to contact peers and other individuals if you want to do something else? So.
And then we also know severe behavior and emotional problems. We are not equipped as a staff to deal with behavior problems or emotional problems. We don't have those kind of supports. This is a college setting. There is a lot of times the students have to be independent. So beyond what the traditional university provides, like we talked about earlier, the supports for, like, we provide, OU provides counseling supports and things like that. Beyond that, that is all that our program can offer regarding this. And we just, I think it's very important for people to realize this is college. It's not a high school. Students aren't on IEPs. So there's no behavior plans, anything like that. We expect a certain level of independence and appropriate behaviors to participate in the program. You have anything to add on that, Kendra?
No, that was good.
Okay. Can handle and adapt to change and not overly stress when things change. We put that in here because college does change. You don't have the same set schedule every day like you did in high school from 8 to 3 or whatever it was. We have students that may have class on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. And then Tuesday and Thursdays, they're like, what am I supposed to do all day? We may have students that have class every morning and nothing at night. So, and you're also on a college campus where, and especially we're seeing this with COVID, is our students getting an email 20 minutes before class. Hey, class has been canceled today. Sorry, I'm stuck at home with a sick kid, or I'm tested positive for COVID. Like, we're seeing a lot of that. So they have to be able to accept, you know, things are kind of change a little bit here and there. They also have to be successful in competitive employment situations. They have to have the ability to be able to work. That's one of the big components of our program. And we want to make sure they are benefiting from our program. Like, the whole thing is, we are looking for a certain level of candidate, but we're also wanting to make sure that we are doing right by our students and making sure they're a good fit for us so we can provide them the skills they need. And this is always one of the biggest ones that we didn't think about at first until we started doing our first rounds of interviews 2 years ago. Desire and motivation to complete a post-secondary program. We interviewed a few kids the first year and we said, well, why do you want to be at OU? Why do you want to go to college? I want to be here because my mom wants me here. And we're like, well, what do you want to do? I want to live with my mom. I don't want to be here. Like once they started talking, you could really tell that this wasn't their idea. And so that's something that I think as parents, especially for when you have students that are a little bit younger, is if this is what you're wanting for them, prepare, start getting them to know what it means to be at college and make sure they understand it, because it's a big commitment to be here on both the student and parents. It's a huge commitment. So make sure that's what you guys are wanting to do. And all students must be between the ages of 18 and 26 to be in our program. They're living in the dorms. They're living with 18 and 19-year-olds. So that's why we did cap it at 26. Anything else you want to add, Kendra?
No, that's, yeah. And, just to echo what Mindy said on the desire and motivation, that desire and motivation is critical for both families and for the student, because it really is a partnership between all of us. And so a lot of times families really want this, and then the students' motivation isn't quite as high. And then we see that once they get on campus, they don't want to wake up and go to classes. They don't want to do their homework. They don't want to join different organizations. And so that desire to be successful in college is really, really important.
Mm-hmm. Hey, this is always one of my favorite slides to present. So students report the following: I've made great friends and everyone is nice at OU. Sooner Works helps me staying focused and figuring out the next steps of college. And I get to be an adult and do adult things. And I love that. In a minute, I also, the very end, if we have enough time, I have a few videos I want to show you where the students also get to talk about what college means to them. So our parents report a new level of independence in handling situations the student never would have been able to handle before. We had a young lady that her dorm room flooded, and the dorm called her and said, hey, you need to move rooms. And she got a hold of the Sooner Work staff and was like, hey, I don't know what's going on here. Can you help me? And so we helped her facilitate it, but she did it all on her own. And her parents actually only live like an hour from Norman. And of course they got stressed and came down to figure out what they could do to help them. By the time they got here, she'd taken care of it all. She had handled the whole situation, was phenomenal handling it. And like, we just kind of sat back and watched her do her thing. And she moved her room and we helped her carry some boxes, but she unpacked everything and just blew us away with her independence, to where I don't know if I would have handled that well as a freshman, probably. So we were really impressed with that. Another parent said, I've never seen their child so happy, and because their child feels more typical being part of OU campus life. And this is a young man that's always wanted to be seen as typical. And then their child is enjoying campus life beyond what they could have ever imagined, but spending way too much at Starbucks. And we always laugh at that because now we have a new group of girls too that like to go shopping at Campus Corner together. And I know several of their parents have put shopping limits on them because they were having a little bit too much fun getting smoothies and Starbucks and OU memorabilia, stuff like that. So you want to go to the next one, Kendra?
Yeah, just normal college.
Yes. Okay, and the instructors, the students are working super hard and enjoy to have in class. They participate daily and becoming more comfortable with each class period. The students are making jokes, they're feeling very comfortable, and they're truly becoming a member of the OU campus. And that's something that I think Kendra and I strive for, is that all of our students are OU students first and foremost. That is a must. Like, yes, they participate in Sooner Works, but they are OU students. And so I don't know if I ever hear one of our students say to anyone on campus, I'm a Sooner Works student. No. It's always, I'm an OU student. And I think that's really something that we will always want to push first and foremost for our kiddos.
Okay, so I know, and several of you have asked me about finances, and so here's kind of the slide on finances. We fully recognize that college is not cheap. We are very happy to announce that SoonerWorks is considered a comprehensive transition program, which allows student participants to qualify for FAFSA. The way to go about that is filling out the FAFSA form the exact way all students do, which then will allow our students to qualify for different grants and scholarships between that. I don't know this was the first semester that our students were able to qualify for FAFSA, and I know that all of them got a couple $1,000s, I want to say, towards their accounts. However, please know that college is what it is. And so OU, what it costs to live in the dorms is what it costs to live in the dorms for all students. We strive to keep the cost of SoonerWorks in line with what it costs to go to OU. And so these rates are actually very, very, very comparable to what it costs to go to OU in general. Some of the other questions I've received are scholarships and other things specific. So I know that students in the SoonerWorks program are considered students in the College of Education. The College of Education did provide all of the students in SoonerWorks a $500 scholarship this semester. Things like that come up, and I know that this is a priority to the college, and so they're trying to work with donors and other alumni of the college to help raise scholarships specifically for students in the SoonerWorks program. But please do recognize that the cost of SoonerWorks is equitable to the cost of attending OU. So, wait, are you muted, Mindy?
Yes, I was. Sorry. There are some private scholarships out there like Ruby's Rainbow. Autism Now had some, I think, that some of our students applied for and got, but it's still, I think all of them get like 1,000 to 2,000, maybe not all of them, but the ones that did apply got 1,000 or like 2,000 to help. So. And did you say they do go through FAFSA for the CP? Okay.
Yeah, so that's absolutely, really important, especially if your child is graduating this year, to get on top of that FAFSA application so that you can qualify for everything. All right, you want to go over the dates?
Sure. Our applications are released now. You can find them on our website. They will be available till February 1st. We're very strict on that deadline because we start going over our candidates as soon as possible and looking at the applications. I had a few good questions like about GPA, ACT, all of that stuff. Our students apply under a different application process than the traditional OU students. So we're not looking at, the students don't need an ACT score. They don't need a GPA. We're not worried about top 10%, anything like that. Like we're looking more at their application. We're looking at their level of independence. We're looking at their letters of recommendations. I think it's really important to stress that. So our students sorry, let me collect my thoughts here for a minute. The applications will be due February 1st. You have to have a most recent IEP. And I think you also will have to have, doesn't have to be an official transcript, but you have to submit a transcript with that. There's an online submission of letters of recommendations. And so when you fill out the application, you'll see a link to the letters of recommendation, and each student needs to have at least 3 recommendations. And we request that one of those be from a former teacher or a teacher they have now, because we can really get a good idea of how their functioning levels, education levels are when we are getting those from teachers. Every student has to pay a $25 application fee. Then we have, so once we get all those applicants in by February 19th, we will notify all students. We'll bring in a group of students that we feel best kind of meet our requirements and look like they would be a good fit for SoonerWorks. And we don't have a set number on that. We just kind of look through the applications and see, yeah, we think the student will be a good fit, or no, we don't think the student will be a good fit, but all families will be notified one way or the other on February 19th. And we will schedule in-person interviews with potential participants and families. So we need both the students and the families there together. for the in-person interviews on March 10th through 12th. As of right now, we're planning those to be in person. However, we understand we may have to change those to online, but as of right now, we are planning those to be in person. And then we will let all the potential participants know on March 15th. And we say potential because once we make our recommendation, the university still has to go through and grant
Formally.
admissions to the students. And they're usually looking like at background, things like that, like making sure no criminal background and all of that. I mean, they usually respect every student we recommend.
Yeah, the university has a background requirement that all students have to do. And so they're going through the procedures to make sure all of that happens.
So are there any questions about the application process or due dates or anything like that?
I'm going to answer a couple of questions that were asked to me privately. When you submit your application, there is a place to pay the $25 application fee online with the submission of the SoonerWorks application. And in case a student doesn't have an IEP, because we've had students who have gone to private schools or homeschools or whatever and don't have an IEP, we just need some kind of documentation as to where the student's functioning level is to make sure that both they're a good fit for SoonerWorks and we're a good fit for them. And so sometimes that can be through, just a documentation of what they're working on. Sometimes it can be from a medical doctor who has any kind of diagnosis that the student has been diagnosed with. So that, I can't think of anything else. So I think the last slide is just a thank you for joining us. One of the best things you can do is follow us. So if you're not already following the SoonerWorks program on social media, please follow us. That's one of the best ways to find out about things that are going on. And we also, I'm going to stop my screen share if I can figure out how. Anybody know how?
I had a question. I didn't quite follow what you're saying. So the whole application process is done online, including the people that do the references. They go onto the same website. Mm-hmm. And then what did you say about the documentation, like the IEP or psych records? Do you need psych records, or how does that work?
If there's an IEP, we're totally good with the IEP. For students who go to private schools or are homeschooled and don't have an IEP, we just need some kind of documentation of the disability of the individual and kind of where their functioning level is. And it's all right there to upload into the application online.
Okay, so you just scan it in and upload it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I gotcha. Okay, thank you.
And the application is really detailed once you sit down and go through it, and you can stop and start with the application process. So it'll probably take you a little bit longer than one setting just to get it all done, because you'll kind of look through and see everything that needs to be uploaded.
Yeah. And we also, OU is open right now for on-campus tours and all of that kind of stuff. We do not do separate tours in SoonerWorks because we really want students to have the same experience that all students do at OU. But please, if you are on campus, let us know. We are happy to meet with you. We have students who are in and out of our offices all the time, and we can definitely, we would love to meet you, love to meet anyone interested in SoonerWorks. So if you're on campus, please do let us know.
And if you need the link to schedule those visits, let me know. You can email soonerworks@ou.edu. It's on the website and everything. If you have any questions or want to just chat, if you can think of other questions you have after this meeting.
And we also want to be respectful of your time. So I know it's just a few minutes before 8. So any last minute questions? It was so nice to meet everyone tonight.
Thank you for this session. We appreciate the time.
Yes, thank you. It's very informational.
Thank you, guys. And stay in contact. Follow us on Facebook. I think you'll get a good idea of what our kids are doing every day on there.
Say thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye, Joseph.
Thank you so much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Bye, guys.
As